Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit ActiveDay.com to apply.
Did you grow up with the NES, PlayStation, Star Wars, cartoons, and 80s TV? Do you like to think who would win in a fight between Batman and the Master Chief? Comics, games, movies, music, and TV. They're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of geeks. Games, movies, music, and TV. They're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of This Week in Geek. This Week in Geek.
Well, hello, and welcome back to another review episode. This is coming off the heels of our Summer Game Fest and Switch 2 launch week coverage. That being said, there are some reviews here that we wanted to make sure we got out to you because we didn't think we could wait to have them all on the regular show, as we only have 2 regular, normal Twig flagship shows coming out before we take our summer hiatus, and we'll still have plenty of content coming, stuff that's been pre-recorded, as well as probably some sporadic review shows throughout, but they weren't going to be able to likely make the regular slots, since we only have 6 slots over the next 2 weeks for that. That being said, there's a few things here from Birdman. He's got a bunch of movies that he wanted to talk about. I have a few random gaming related items to talk about here, as well as some other stuff in the works that's probably going to have to come out mid-range next week, as how some embargoes kind of work. I am working on a bunch of games, some on the Switch 2, that all have maybe separate episodes to talk about for the prototype, or something to that extent, as well as some movies and some gaming tech related stuff that I'm just sort of going to put in here. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to have in here, as it's been sort of a whirlwind blur the last couple of weeks. We're finally starting to catch up on sleep of everything. It's first world problem, right? Complaining, oh, there's so much to cover. But in reality, it's been a lot for us to sort of time manage and make sure that we can try to get to everything and give things the thorough, attention that they deserve. So there's going to be, I think, 3 or 4 things in here from Birdman, probably the same amount from me. We've got some other stuff in the works. I know Ken's working on some reviews of some higher profile PC releases. Birdman has a few things himself. I'm waiting on some hardware to arrive, and once that does, we'll definitely have more to talk about. But there should be some neat stuff in here if you're interested in getting some gifts for yourself for the summer, or treat yourself. It's the end of the year for anybody that's in school or college, and if for those of us that are not choosing to do a lot of vacations, away from home, if you're doing more of a staycation, there should be some interesting things here that you can treat yourself with. So I guess I'm going to send it over to either myself or Birdman, and I'll come back at the end and give a quick programming update. Alex, the producer here, with just a quickie review of Konami's Survival Kids. That's right, Konami sent us a review code for the Switch 2 exclusive title, which I think is going to fall through the radar, or under the radar of people, simply because it didn't really get a lot of press announcements. I only, stumbled upon it when I realized, oh yeah, I forgot that we saw this as part of, I think it was when they announced the Switch 2 at one of the directs. They had like a montage and it was sort of shown there. And then I saw it on the Switch store and I went, oh, let me just reach out and see if, we can get our hands on a review code so we can check it out and let people know about it. And sure enough, they came through and said, hey, yeah, sure. Here's a code. Check it out. See what you think. And it's interesting in that it's a more of a full price game, but it only has a digital release. There is no, at least from what I can see anywhere, of plans for a physical release. And it can be played single player, but it's really meant to be experienced, as couch co-op with multiple players, up to 4 people playing with you. And the general premise is you are marooned on an island and you have to gather resources to build up a camp, and then building a camp lets you cook food, which gives you higher stamina, which lets you go do more difficult things, and figure out some puzzles to get the equipment then together to grab your sail from a wrecked ship and rebuild your ship, and then sail on to the next island. And you're uncovering sort of mysteries as you go along, as you're shipwrecked on each of these islands. The loop is pretty addictive. I would say playing it as a single player was still fun enough, but obviously it's going to be fun with multiple people because it lightens the load and there's some hijinks that can happen as you're playing. It is geared obviously to families and kids, but adults can enjoy it too. There is narration over top of it. I think a little bit like Bastion was back in the day. There's a narrator that's sort of keeping the pace as you go and keeping you interested. The audio design is pretty well done. Visually, it's not anything that's going to like rewrite, graphics in the history book, but it is solid, runs at a solid frame rate, 60 FPS, no issues. There's more to it than I was expecting. The price point is maybe going to make people take pause, because I believe as of this recording, it looks like it's in the $60 plus range in Canada, where you might think, oh, it should be cheaper. If it hits a discount point, maybe it's something that I think people will pick up. But I do think there is enough value here to justify most of its price. It's just maybe a little bit too expensive, especially without having a large marketing campaign behind it, not having a physical release, and sort of just being on the store. Like it's just there on the storefront. There's a couple other titles that are like that from other publishers. I just would have figured that there would have been a bigger marketing push initially from Konami for this, because it's a lot better than you'd expect. And I do see myself playing this, with family. You can pick up and play for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and maybe even an hour if you really wanted to do a longer session. It has that pick up and play gameplay. It's easy to come by. Kids can get into it. It really helps that it's a couch co-op game that you can play with family members and kids. Even like somebody like my parents or your grandparents can get into it if you really wanted to. And it's harmless fun. I do think price point's a little high, but again, if you're looking for something that is good for co-op and multiplayer for the whole family, that is family friendly and is a Switch 2 exclusive, this is probably one of the ones that you're going to want to pick up.
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here, and I'm here to take a look at something we got from our friends over at Warner Brothers Home Entertainment. I'm looking at The Drew Carey Show, the complete series, Asterix. So before we go any further for this review, I do have to let you know that 4 special episodes are not included, and this is written on the back of the DVD cases. Most notably says, and I quote here, "The 4 special episodes are not included in this collection are Drew Carey's Dance Party Special, Drew Carey's Back to School Rock and Roll Comedy Hour Parts 1 and 2, and What's Love Got to Do With It." Also, it is also notable to mention that musical compositions in certain episodes of this series have been replaced or altered from their original broadcast versions. So that's important to note because I can tell you musical clearances are expensive and not everybody wants to do it. I can't think of many series that have come out in their full unreleased forms that comes to using licensed music. It's a little bit different when they're airing on TV in real time. Rights change, rights holders change, and sometimes you just can't get a hold of people. But all that being said, now let's dive into the review. So, The Drew Carey Show is one of those iconic 90s sitcoms that I feel kind of came out of nowhere when everything was like Frasier or Friends or Seinfeld, you know, that sort of humor where it would play. There wasn't too many sitcoms that I felt spoke to me as kind of just an ordinary person. And I've heard this comedy described as sort of the blue collar, more like in the vein of Roseanne, I guess, because, you know, it's not like Roseanne and Dan were exactly living it up. But Drew Carey was middle management at a kind of department store, Wilford Lauder, I think it was, in Cleveland, Ohio, with Lewis and Oswald, his two best buddies, who hung out at the Warsaw Tavern, their on and off girlfriend, Kate, and of course their nemesis, Mimi Bobek, and a variety of different bosses at the department store. So a fairly funny series, and Drew Carey sort of became that cultural icon for quite some time. He would go on to, like, obviously still do like a bunch of stand-up specials. Then he went on to do The Price is Right. You know, Drew Carey was everywhere for quite some time. And then obviously with the success of Whose Line Is It Anyway, he was there, still a funny guy. And, you know, the sitcom sort of reflects that. So the early seasons of this don't look great. It's 90s TV. What do you want? As the series went on, which I didn't realize this went like 9 seasons, the quality on the discs do go up a little bit, but let's face it here, you're not getting like the full AI upscale treatment that you would see from, like, say, the most recent Friends release or something like that. It looks fine for what it is. You're not buying this to judge it on color depth or resolution or how good the blacks look or, you know, are the audio channels properly mixed. You're not here for that. You're here for a sitcom, let's be real. And does it work? Yeah, it's still pretty funny today.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
Some things have aged a little bit poorly, I'll say. You know, modern environment, and that's just how comedy is. So, whatever. Think of that what you will. Remember, it was a different time. I don't see Drew Carey as a bad guy. Party on and moving on. The one weakness I do find in this is there's only one special feature. It is a lengthy one, but it was from when this series originally came out, and I want to say 2007. And it's called Life in the Cubicle or something like that. And it's like 20 minutes, and it's fairly extensive, all things considered. They do talk with Drew. I think it's Bruce Helford or something like that, one of his executive producer friends and showrunners who got this off the ground, and various members of the cast and crew to talk about their experiences during the filming of the show. Now, one thing that I think hurts this release is, would it have killed them to get people together to look at this over Zoom, or to get Ryan Stiles and Dietrich Bader and Drew Carey, get them together in a room and just talk for 15-20 minutes, talk about the legacy of this. Go talk with Craig Ferguson, go talk with the woman who played Mimi, Kathy something, or, you know, find out what Krista Miller's up to these days. I think I know she's doing some television right now. I think she's on like an Apple Plus show called Shrinking, I think. So it's not like these people aren't still active. So, and it would be interesting just for them to talk about, the legacy of the music in the show and say, hey guys, we wanted to include it, but here are some of the bands that we featured way back when. And at least that history is acknowledged and they could say, hey, here's what happened. So if there is a weakness to this set, I do feel that is definitely one of them. But for all intents and purposes, this is likely the best you're gonna get, and you're just gonna have to deal with that. Is it a bad collection? No. Is it the best we're going to get in the current format? Likely. I don't see this ever getting a re-release outside of maybe some upscaling at some point later on. Will all the music clearances come back? I think it's going to take a Cleveland-sized miracle for that to happen, if we're going to be real here. But considering this set retails for about $100 Canadian, I'm not sure what the US price is, I'd say it's fairly worth it, especially if you're a fan of this type of humor, especially from this era of television. It's a very much a snapshot in time capsule of what things were. And again, Drew Carey, I feel, is one of those comedians that everybody can enjoy. I don't think he's had much controversy, at least that I'm aware of. And I could very well be ignorant of that. But, Ryan Stiles, Dietrich Bader, those guys are hysterical as Lewis and Oswald. And obviously, the prank wars, Craig Ferguson. There's a lot to like here. So I'm going to say this is a fairly worthwhile pickup. So please consider adding the Drew Carey Show, the complete series, to your collection. Once again, coming from our friends over at Warner Brothers Home Entertainment.
Alex, the producer, and this is just a quick little first impressions / review of the demo for Yuka Replay. I had a chance to check this out before it was out to the public. The demo, as of this recording and as of this release, should be live for pretty much everybody to check out for like Steam Next Fest. I had a chance to play it just before we were off to do all of our Switch 2 and the Summer Game Fest coverage and all that stuff that we've got going on. And it's about an hour. It took me about 40 minutes to beat it once, and I went and replayed it again, just sort of moved around. So it sort of gives you a chance to play what appears to be the opening and beginning of the game and get you sort of in the feel for how it works. And then it even says you can like continue your save file. If you purchase the main game, it'll reincorporate that into it, which is always nice to see. I can say that the controls play and feel a lot better and a lot more natural than what I remember playing when the first version of this game came out years ago. So they've definitely done something there to tweak that. Visually, it's obviously more impressive. Audio wise, maybe a little less compressed than the audio, but for the most part, I couldn't tell much of a difference there. I'd have to go back and play them side by side and really see. The main thing I noticed is it just feels smooth and like as far as like and slick in terms of the production and everything, but I don't know if this is going to be fixed before release, before this demo even goes live to everybody else, or if there's going to be patches for the game once it comes out. There was pretty significant frame hitching when I was playing, and it didn't matter what resolution I played at. Like I played it, it defaulted to 4K max settings and everything. There's not very many settings you can alter anyway, simply because like I've got a pretty high-end CPU. I've got a 3080 Ti, which this game is not taxing the 3080 Ti at all whatsoever. And I was sitting at like 20% GPU utilization, right? And like there's not a lot, and the VRAM it was using like 4 or 5 gigabytes of VRAM out of my 12, so there's no issues there. But every like few seconds that you're moving, you're getting a frame time hitching, like where traversal jank, like it's very noticeable. Even I lowered the game down just to see like to the lowest settings it would do and 720p, and it still had it. So they need to do something about loading in assets, streaming their streaming assets without having it hitch when you're moving around, or they need to do like some pretty substantial, I don't know, shader compilation thing at the beginning or something, because it should not be doing this. And I was like, okay, is it just an issue with this computer? I even went and played on an older computer that I have, which is my Ryzen 3600 with the Arc A380, played it at 1080p low settings, and frame rate was locked, quote unquote, with no issues, and I was still getting the traversal stutter. So there's work that needs to be done here. Outside of that being substantial, everything else is great. So if they can work those kinks out, hopefully before you're playing this, before you play a demo of it, great. And if not, definitely this has to be fixed and worked on for optimization before the actual game comes out, because otherwise it'll be really disappointing if they worked all this time to make everything so much better, but then they're stuck with performance issues at launch. Because if they get that worked out, this is going to be a fantastic playthrough for anybody that's new to it, especially, and anybody that played the original version and just had some issues with controls and some of the stuff in it that made it feel a little less premium. It finally feels and looks like almost like a AAA throwback, but it does need performance to be significantly better and more optimized in terms of like traversal stutter.
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here. I'm here to talk about something really cool we got from our friends over at Warner Brothers Home Entertainment and our friends over at HBO. I'm going to be talking about the 4K Ultra HD release of Dune Prophecy, the complete first season, which as of this recording just got picked up for a second season. I'm looking forward to it. So, I'm actually a pretty big fan of the Dune IP. I've seen both of the movies in theaters. I don't have the popcorn bucket. No, it's not what you think. It looks cool. I am also a pretty big fan of the Dune role-playing game from Modiphius. I own all the books, and I think it's pretty awesome. I will say I don't think I'm smart enough to understand Dune in all its intricacies, but that's neither here nor there. I think it's pretty awesome. The spice must flow, yada yada yada. The only way is through. So what is Dune Prophecy? In a nutshell, this is the origin story of the Bene Gesserit, basically the sisterhood that controls most of the major houses from the shadows, sort of advising them as truthsayers, as they say, basically using their abilities to foresee the future, use this like psychic power called the Voice to make people do things that they normally wouldn't do. In fact, pretty dramatic in the first episode, if I'm going to be real with you. And I didn't realize when this series took place. So this takes place about 10,000 years before the Atreides stuff and Arrakis on Dune. So this is just after the jihad against the thinking machines, so the artificial intelligences, the robots, and this is before mentats and that sort of thing. So again, this is a really cool time period to set this in, because they're not really beholden to a whole lot of lore outside of a few key points. So again, this is really neat, and I think when you can take a sci-fi series that has lore that kind of touches upon this, you can really do some interesting things. A more contemporary example of this might be Star Trek Discovery to a lesser extent, but also Strange New Worlds. Stuff that's been established, sort of like with those two things, you're dealing with, Star Trek, the original series, before the 5-year mission and Captain Kirk, but you're also kind of dealing with the Federation Klingon War, but I'm getting into the weeds with this. But Dune Prophecy sort of sets up the ancestors of the Harkonians, so Baron Harkonnen and Leo Atreides and Paul Atreides. These guys won't exist for 10,000 years, but there's bad blood there for a long time, and just it's neat to see how this series sets this up. I think it looks cool. I think it does a lot to build the world out. I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the second season. One thing I will say is I'm probably going to have to go back and read some of my role.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
Playing books just to understand some of the terms that get kind of thrown at me. And I'm not saying you have to be a Dune lorist to enjoy stuff like this. Does it offer a little bit more insight? Yeah, sure, because you might know what the hell they're talking about or what planet they're kind of going to and what some of the technology means. Again, it's neat to see sci-fi properties get treated, in my opinion, fairly well. And HBO doing a Dune TV series, I didn't think would work. I like this. Now, I can also say I haven't read the proper books by Frank Herbert. I've only read the role-playing game Adventures in the Imperium from Modiphius. And again, I have an understanding from that perspective. And that gets the creative side of my brain going, which is, again, what I really enjoy. Will you enjoy this series? I think you might. I think it's got some pretty cool acting, especially from some of the younger people in this. And again, just seeing all the different interactions between the houses and just all the very Game of Thronesy intrigue, sort of what Dune's kind of known for in its sense too, though not as George R.R. Martin-esque, so to speak. But I think it's neat. I think Dune Prophecy is worth your time. It's fairly short. It's 6 episodes. You could blitz through this in a night if you were so inclined, or over a couple of days. If you went back and did a Dune-esque marathon where literally you're consuming your own version of spice, consume responsibly, you're going to have a fairly fantastic time. I really think, and I really think this looks great on 4K. There's a lot of special features over 90 minutes. I didn't check each special feature, but anything I watched, I felt added to my enjoyment of it. And that's primarily what I'm looking for. What adds to my overall experience in the world of Arrakis, or in this case, planets that aren't just covered in sand. I get that. That's cool. I'm learning more about a order in the Dune universe I didn't know a lot about before, right? So again, I think it's cool. It's a part of the universe I didn't expect explored, and just the time period is what interests me the most. So Dune Prophecy from Warner Brothers Home Entertainment and HBO gets a thumbs up from me, especially if you're a Dune fanatic. If you are not a Dune fanatic, if you have any of the streaming services, watch the first 2 episodes, see what you think, and if you dig that, just pick it up. I think you're really going to like what you see here, and I think it's interesting to see where this series could go. So anyway, that's going to be my review for Dune Prophecy from HBO and Warner Brothers Home Entertainment.
Alex, the producer here, with a very quick review of a new movie brought to us from our friends over at Anchor Bay Entertainment. Been a while since we've reviewed one of their movies, and this is a new release of one of their indie titles that they've signed, and this is called Sour Party. It's a pretty low budget comedy led by women, similar in tone and style to Superbad. Execution of the acting is fine. It's serviceable. It's kind of hard to explain watching it. It's quite clear that they had a lot of fun making the movie, but it's basically about a couple of people in their 30s basically trying to find their way in Los Angeles, especially with having no money and just the ups and downs that happen to them. Some of it kind of trivial, some of it, a little more not so much, but the basic plot revolves around trying to find a gift for one of the characters' older sister's baby shower. And they're putting their heads together trying to find ways to make money, as well as like how to, what to get. And there's some cameos by people in here. The big one, I would say, there's a few other people, but the big one being Corey Feldman, which when he shows up now, it's always a treat, but for the wrong reasons. If you know his musical career as of late, and just the kind of delusions of grandeur that he has. I can say that he adds to the movie being in it, and it is funny. It just is very low budget, and if you're into like quirky, director, writer driven indie comedies, it's probably something that you might find interesting. I don't know if it's going to be for everybody in our audience, but I did enjoy my time with it. It was worth at least a watch for sure. If you're, if you're a Corey Feldman fan, you might want to add this to your collection, even though it's not like he's, a main star of it. But, it's few and far in between nowadays where he ends up in productions, right? So it is, available, obviously widescreen, 5.1 surround. As far as other features that are included, there's like commentary stuff, but there's really not much on here. It's a fairly bare bones release. It is obviously in good quality, I would say. Not great as far as like the visuals, the cinematography. It is, a very low budget affair, but it's adequate. The dialogue is clear. It's pretty well written. The acting is pretty good considering the actor's experience involved. And you get some fun cameos from a few people, which, I won't spoil everything, but just that Corey Feldman's in here. And that in itself is probably worth checking out.
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here. I'm here to talk about something really fun and kind of exciting we got from our friends over at Warner Brothers Home Entertainment. I'm talking about the 4K Ultra HD with a digital code of the James Bond collection. Well, although more aptly, the Sean Connery 6 film collection. That's Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, Diamonds Are Forever. I've not seen some of these movies since I was a kid. I want to say I remember watching a couple of these on TVO's Saturday Night at the Movies with Ellie Yost. For those of you that don't know what that is, it was a Canadian television channel, still is. And this was a show where they would show older movies with the guy kind of hosting it. So think of like Sven Gulli, but more classy, I want to say. He was more like a film buff and historian. But anyway, classic James Bond. Like, these are the movies that started the formula, started the series, and you start to see how the series starts to evolve over time with, like, the quippy one-liners, the cool gadgets, his iconic Walther PPK, and, bad guys getting, wasted and stuff like that. Again, you get to see some pretty fantastic movies. I mean, to go over these classics again and again, what more can I say that hasn't been said since, like, the 60s? There's not a lot I can say other than they are fun. There's a reason why this character has endured to this very day across various forms of media. And a new video game is on the horizon within the next little bit. And as of this recording, one of the James Bond bad guys is in Hitman World of Assassination. So cool. But to talk about these things, I guess one of the big things that I love to talk about is what are the special features? Well, as far as I understand, I used to own the Bond Blu-rays, where it was like the 50th anniversary set. And as far as I can tell, all the special features have been ported over, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but you ain't going to be bored here. And that's how I typically judge a release, is how good are the special features. Let's just say, grab that martini, because you're not going anywhere for a while. You've got a lot on, like, every movie. It's pretty awesome. Sit back, enjoy, because once you're done watching the flick, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can watch with each, and I highly recommend that you do. Visually and audibly, I guess, sorry, I got a little tongue-tied there. I think these look pretty good. I think some of these are a pretty big improvement over the Blu-ray. Not like world-shattering, oh my god, go out and call MI6 right now and call Q, but enough of an upgrade that I think it's worth your time, especially if you're a 4K aficionado. I'll be very excited to see as these collections continue to evolve and more stuff comes out over time. Again, I really like when a series gets treated properly, when enough care gets put into it, and especially with a franchise as important as Bond, to see it brought up to modern standards, I think that's pretty kick-ass. And again, the fact that you are getting so much extra value in the form of the special features is pretty neat. Now, I got sent the standard version of this. I think there's like a steelbook as well. It doesn't really matter, in my opinion, unless you're like a steelbook collector. I don't care, personally. But there are options out there for you. So, ultimately, if you have loved James Bond from the first moment he introduced himself, from he lit up that cigarette, the first time he drew his Walther PPK and gave that smirk that only Sean Connery can, then you know you're gonna dig this. I'm preaching to the choir. You already have your license to kill, so to speak. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what else Warner Brothers can do with this. I think it's going to be wicked as time goes on. This is a fantastic start to James Bond on 4K. I'm excited. You're excited. I love it. So once again, that is the Sean Connery 6 film collection of Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, and Diamonds Are Forever. So check this out on 4K Ultra HD, and hey, you get a digital code too, so why not? So check that out from our friends over at Warner Brothers Home Entertainment.
Alex, the producer here, and we've got something special to talk about. We have our friends over at Retro Fighters sent 3 new controllers for us to check out. We haven't actually reviewed anything from them in the past, but with the Nintendo Switch 2 launch just happening, I reached out and said, hey, would it be possible for us to do some reviews of some of your products? And they said, yeah, sure. So they sent over a few. I'm going to talk about one right now, with a couple others coming over the next little bit with some of our other programming. I'll say what we were sent. We were sent the D6 Dreamcast controller, the Hunter Crystal controller, and the Battler GC or Battler GameCube Pro purple controller. Now, what I'm going to be reviewing right now and discussing is the Battler GameCube Pro, simply because that one, as of this recording, has had a firmware release update that lets you use it with the Switch 2. As most third-party controllers, say that they're compatible or they were compatible with the Switch and Switch 2. In many cases, including this, there needed to be a patch update for that. And as of this recording, the firmware update states that it works in the Bluetooth mode, which I can confirm, and that the wired mode, which uses the USB dongle, doesn't currently work. That is true. Of course, they're pretty active on updating it. The same thing is going to go for other controllers. You see it from other companies as well doing the same thing. It is such a close time to the launch. Full disclosure, I received the product the day of, the day of that we were going for the midnight release of the Switch 2. So, I had a chance to briefly try on PC and briefly try on the Switch 1 before we went into full Switch 2 review coverage mode, as well as Summer Games Fest week. And we've just sort of had the last week or so to finally get used to it. And as of this recording, it's only been a day or two since the patch had come out for this to work fully with the Switch 2. And I can say, I've also had the actual GameCube controller shipped, and I waited for that to arrive, the official one from Nintendo, to compare. And I can say there's no comparison. The Retro Fighters controller is so much better. As cool as the actual official Nintendo one is, using it with the Nintendo Online service for, GameCube, I was playing a little bit of F-Zero, I was playing a little bit of Soul Calibur 2, and, their official one, it's the shape that you're used to, it has the good battery life, all that stuff that you come to expect from Nintendo, and it feels great. But I can tell you right now that the Battler GC Pro feels better. The very premium feel, the finish of the plastic and the quality, it's very, rigid, feels like what you'd expect almost a first-party controller to be like, but maybe even better. You have analog triggers. It has a, more comfortable layout to the controller for somebody like me who has big, gigantic hands. And just the overall aesthetics of it, it feels really good. Charging it is, easy. It doesn't feel like cheap. It doesn't feel like hot to the touch when it's charging like sometimes third-party controllers can do. It has the switch to go into 2.4 gigahertz mode using the dongle, or the ability to go into Bluetooth mode. And like I said, right now on Switch 2, if you're using Switch 2, you're going to have to use it in Bluetooth mode. That will probably change as they, investigate and do more firmware updates and patches and stuff. It also, comes with an adapter that you can use to plug in to the original GameCube, which I didn't actually have anymore. I had to contact my brother because I think he has one, and we're going to get a chance to check it out, but I'm sure it's going to work, and I'll probably do an update on that as is. But, my main goal with this, and I think a lot of people of our listeners here are going to be wondering, how is this, going to work? Is this going to be a good solution for me to play with Nintendo, games online, like with NSO plus expansion pass that's available for the Switch 2, where you can have access to GameCube games? And I can say it works flawlessly. The controller is, it's mapped. The buttons are all the right buttons. It's mapped correctly. It felt comfortable playing. No issues whatsoever. You'd almost expect them to charge more. Please don't, guys. Please keep your pricing the way it is, because it's actually quite reasonable. And I will say, something to consider if you're ordering, within Canada. If you get it, if you have their products and you see them advertised, as part of like Amazon, it'll be good. But if you end up ordering it from an American site or from them directly, you should just know that with everything going on with the tariff situation and postage being the way it is, you may get hit with an import fee that's not on them. That'll be on, our international governments and postal services. So something to consider, if you're wondering, keep an eye on things like Amazon locally in Canada, see if things like pop up. But if you can't wait to get your hands on stuff like this, you can always check out their website and see where it's sold directly. You can get it from. I am very happy. I'm going to have, a good time playing through this. And, I think it's going to be my mainline controller when I'm playing NSO games that are specifically GameCube. And again, I'm going to go back and try it out on, actually, wait a minute. You know what I'm going to do? I do have a Wii. So what I should do is I should plug the, plug the adapter into the Wii itself and see if I can, play it around that way. Then I'd have to dig out some GameCube. This has sparked a whole new interest in me. I'm going to have to go back and do more. But as it stands, I'm very happy with it. I'll be sure to check out the other controllers. I'm going to make sure that there's firmware updates to see if they'll work on the Switch as well. If not, we'll check them out on PC and on their respective consoles. But I'm very impressed. As far as first impressions are concerned for Retro Fighters, very impressed. Even the shipping box that they came in, when you open them, there's the product itself. It's in good packaging, but the actual, I had a shipment box that when you opened up the box, it has like its own pattern on the inside. It's, a very premium experience overall, and I'm very happy with them. So we'll be sure to give more coverage and more discussions on the other controllers, but that's going to do it right now for us. I'm very impressed and how fast they got their firmware updated so that the Switch 2 was, a viable solution for this. And I think it's, again, going to be my mainline controller when I'm playing the GameCube games on the Nintendo Switch Online service.
Those magnificent bastards! Color me kooky, but something very odd is going on around here.
You're not allowed to talk anymore.
And that's going to do it for the show this week. What do we have coming up? Well, we'll have a regular show, knock on wood. We'll have a regular, show with all the pop culture news and weird news and everything this coming week. But what's coming up, I believe, tomorrow, as of this recording, we have a new Earth versus Soup, and that is the Ghost of Drag Strip Hollow from 1959. Upcoming episodes of that over the next few weeks also are The Yesterday Machine and Night of the Big Heat. Plenty more coming from there. I've probably got about 100 episodes I can go through and edit, have out, because Aaron and Darlene are just podcasting machines. We're always ahead of the curve when it comes to that. We have more episodes sort of in the bag, ready for record over the summer. I've mentioned that we're pre-recording stuff, and just to give you an idea of some of the stuff we already have for the summertime special, we have a Future Imperfect on the RoboCop franchise. We have a loose cannon on 90s media icons. We have a random access memories on movies to get to know us as far as, the hosts. We have a Future Imperfect on the Total Recall movies. We have a random access memories on pitching movie ideas as double features. We have Sunday Funnies on the Fantastic Four, sort of lined up to come out when the movie comes out. We have loose cannon on the Weird Al films. We have a Future Imperfect on Johnny Mnemonic and Strange Days. We have loose cannon on the Aladdin trilogy. We also have loose cannon on the Goofy movie double feature. And we have a Future Imperfect on Judge Dredd and Dredd. So that's stuff that's already ready to go. It's just about figuring out the schedule of when we're going to release them, but they'll probably come out in the Monday slot that the regular show would normally come out over the course of the summer. Maybe we'll have a week of double ups if there's like civic holidays and that sort of stuff. We'll throw an extra episode out there. And then, of course, on top of that, we'll have our review shows as things come out. We'll also have likely some interviews in the meantime to put out. I know Birdman's working on a few, and those usually, we try to get those out within a couple of days of the recording. And we'll have a few other specials ready to go. And that's not including some of the stuff that we have specifically dated. We're already pre-working on some content ideas for October as we lead up into our Halloween special that we usually do every single year. So there's plenty of cool stuff coming your way. We've got a bunch of game review coverage and things to go as the summer heats up. It's getting hot out there. As of this recording right now, I am either gone out or will be going out to go see Elio, the new Pixar film, a couple days early for one of their early screenings, because it's so hot. I've got air conditioning in the apartment, but I need to get out, even if it means out from my place into another cool place. Just don't like being cooped up when it's too hot or too cold, and it seems like a good movie I could just go and relax and put a smile on for. It seems to have pretty good Rotten Tomatoes score. I'll probably update everybody and say, hey, whether it's good or not. I mean, you pretty much know with Pixar if it's good, but yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for us here at This Week in Geek. As you said, we've got plenty of cool stuff coming up. We'll be back here later on this week, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.